Toby Foster at breakfast. BBC Radio Sheffield.
And happy birthday to the Streets Ahead scheme. It's a £2 billion scheme that the council and AMEY launched to replace all the main roads, pavements and streetlights in Sheffield. And it's won today. Joining me in the studio now is Graeme Symonds, who's the network director for the contractors AMEY, and Jack Scott, who's the council's cabinet member for environment, recycling and street scene. Graeme, first of all, good morning.
Good morning.
You've heard some of the complaints that we've had from the people in Shire Green and Tinsley. We're only a year into the scheme. Tell us what you make to what you've heard from them.
Well, I think the specific concern that was raised was actually some confusion. We actually have two types of zones that we carry work out on, and they're done by the hierarchy of roads. So we have the residential roads that we work on first, and then there are also sort of the main roads as well. The road that was in question that you had the call about is actually a main road that we'll be doing later on in the 5-year programme. So we'll be completing that later on.
Do you know, I've got a text on that, which I didn't read out, because I think this is the problem with a story like this. I think people seem to think they know what's going on better than people who actually build roads. There's a text here from Rog who says that yes, there has to be an order for AMEY to repair the roads, but Sheffield Council are allowing them to cherry pick the easy roads, the residential ones, rather than the main roads. Now, I'm guessing there has to be a reason for that. Why would you do the main roads and then run all the equipment over it to do the side roads? Jack, talk to us about the order it's been done in.
Well, what we've done is we've split the city up into about 107 different zones, and some of those are some of the big main roads, so we do all of those at once, and some of those are the smaller zones, what we call the B zones. And so we've split it in that way because actually if we went into an area and we did the main road, so take Hillsborough for example, if we did Hillsborough and cause the disruption that this project can cause when we're in there fixing all the roads and putting in the new streetlights. If we did that in Hillsborough and closed Penistone Road at the same time, we'd have absolute gridlock. It'd be mayhem. So we've made a distinction between the big main roads like the dual carriageways and the smaller roads like the estate roads, and that's absolutely the best way to do this scheme. I think you're absolutely right though, and maybe some of the calls and some of the comments have shown that we can do even better at communicating this, because actually this project is fantastic. It's £2 billion of investment in Sheffield. There's about 700 people employed in this project now in total. It's absolutely fantastic for our city. We're going from having some of the worst roads to some of the best, which is brilliant. But I think there is a level of disruption that's unavoidable when you do a project of this size.
I think that's the problem, you know. I think that certainly the text that we've got and what we've heard from people is they're complaining about how they would build a road. Yeah. In that very few of them are road builders. And you do have a duty to have good PR on this, don't you? You have a communication duty. Do you need to do that better then?
I think there's always things that we can do better. What I'm more interested in than making sure we get the spin right is making sure we get the project right. And actually what I don't get is any complaints about the finished product. So when AMEY have concluded a zone and finished off the work entirely, I go around areas, bits of Shire Green and other places, and people say this is absolutely fantastic. In the middle, there is a disruption, and we can't do an awful lot about that. We'll do everything we can, but you can't get away from that because this is such a big project, and everyone said in Sheffield for many, many years, and on your phone-ins for many years, that they want to make sure that our roads are better. And we can't make the roads better without a level of disruption and without it taking some time to do. But overall, this project's going brilliantly for Sheffield.
Undoubtedly that. But Graeme, specifically, we've had roads mentioned where they said, well, it just looks unfinished. Is that because actually it is at the minute unfinished?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. I mean, one of your listeners rang in and there was a concern around Ferrers Road out at Tinsley. What's actually happened there is we were working in the footpaths, we were installing the columns, and then one of the utilities, National Grid, actually tapped us on the shoulder and said, hang on, while you're in there, before you finish off, can we go in and upgrade our cabling underneath? So we said we had the opportunity to step back. They're in there repairing their work, and as soon as they're completed, we'll go back in, we'll reconnect the street lighting columns, and we'll lay the final layer on the footways. So people do see sort of a half-finished job. But as Jack has pointed out, the completed areas around the city, when you drive around them, and I was driving around last night, are actually really very good and have transformed the city.
Of course, that tap on the shoulder from the utilities company means that you have a road that's left unfinished for longer. Is that the time that you ought to be leafleting those houses saying, this is why it's going to be like this for an extra month?
That's absolutely right. I agree totally with Jack. Our communications around, we're very good at communicating when things are going very smoothly, but when you come across technical problems, problems, or the weather causes delays, we need to look and become smarter and sharper at communicating at a local level to the residents and helping them understand that, yep, sorry, we haven't finished yet, but bear with us.
Of course, you've got a relatively accommodating time span on this. You've got 5 years. Before that, of course, middle of next year, we've got the Tour de France coming through town. Now, we can't afford a pothole on that one, can we?
No, that's absolutely...
And is that area being done first?
Well, what we're doing is we're going to look across the whole city at when things come across. So big events like the Tour de France, if we had a big city centre event, for example, we'd look at that as well, and we'll be really practical and pragmatic about the choices and which zones we do. We've got a programme at the moment for the whole city within 5 years. I have to say, it doesn't feel like it's quite a long time. It feels like it's the biggest road building scheme since Victorian times.
2 elections between them, Jack.
Well, there are, yeah. Long time. Yeah. But I think the really important thing is we'll be really pragmatic and do whatever it is we need to do to make sure we get the best result from this. And actually, I think if you look at the winter, and I didn't think about this because it's getting colder, if you look at the winter we had just gone, it was a really, really bad winter, and actually Sheffield did really well in that. I think there was a general view that we got the gritting right, and actually that we were able to get people into work and that sort of thing. So that gives me some confidence that actually this project is working really well, and we're going to make sure that we get the 2nd and 3rd and 4th and 5th year anniversaries even better. Do
we scale down in the winter? Do we just not go for the big roads October to March?
No, we still continue through, but not at the same scale. I mean, obviously during the summer, we've actually got 7 zones running at the same time across the city. Obviously, we scale that down because we need resource to man the gritters, etc. But also, winter is not a good time of year to be laying hot tarmac as well.
Absolutely. Well, look, thanks very much indeed for coming in this morning. You can, of course, let us know anything you want to. If you want to tell us a road that you think is particularly bad, feel free to call us. We've got everybody's numbers. We'll pass those on. Thank you very much indeed, Jack Scott and Graeme from AMEY.